Great. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Community Preservation Act Committee to order. Thursday, February 5th, 2026, at 6:03 p.m. Welcome. And the first, we have on the agenda, we have announcements, then approving the minutes. And I'd just like to switch those two around and approve the minutes first, if that's all right with folks. Um, we have a quorum. Angus, go ahead.
I just wanted to apologize to everyone. I was meaning before I sent it off to Leah to do a search and replace so that everyone's first and last name appeared. And I had done it for my name and the staff names, and then it was like 11 p.m. after our meeting, and I went to bed. And then I meant to redo it. So I'm sorry that all of your names appear throughout the document as just your last names. But
It was the most detailed minutes ever, so it was very good.
The name thing totally pissed me off, though.
So Bob will vote against
So,
it on.
so impersonal. I mean,
I loved it. I like being called by my last name. It's all good. No, if no one minds, we'll keep it as is. But did anyone have any corrections that they wanted to make? Additions? Yeah, okay. Hi, Jason. Welcome. We're on minutes. And so we'll just do a roll call vote on the January 22nd, 2026 minutes. Thank you, Angus, for preparing them. So I'll start yay or nay, or abstaining. I'll start with Ellen.
Yay. Or aye.
Tim,
I
Bob,
I
Jonas,
I
Angus,
I
Jason,
I
Robin.
Aye.
And I am an I as well, so that those minutes are approved. Oh, I didn't get a motion and a second, did I?
No, so moved. Approve the minutes for
Second.
January 22nd.
second.
Yes,
Second.
thank you, Ellen. I don't know if we could do that retroactively, but I think it will be okay for the minutes. Thank you. And tonight, I guess I'm the last one who hasn't taken minutes, so I get the gift of doing the minutes for tonight. This chair role is the gift that keeps on giving, I must say. It's for those of you who haven't been chair,
Well, Katie, you are a gift to us, so.
I highly recommend it. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so with that approval, we'll move just to the announcements section. And I just have a couple of comments I just wanted to share with you all and those who are watching. I wanted to just thank you, all of you, the staff, and each committee member for taking the extra time at our last meeting and extending it so we got through all of those proposals, and I just so appreciated that. I also appreciate, we were just talking a little bit about, there's been some medical challenges. We've had a couple of joint replacements during this season, childcare challenges. There's work demands, travel snafus. People have had the flu. I just really appreciate each of you showing up. You're prepared and you're super engaged. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, especially for the last meeting. And at our last meeting, Jason brought up a point of order question about process, which I really appreciated. I had the chance to connect with him on that today. And I just think it's critical that each of us has is able to speak up and share our concerns in order for this group to function well. So I really appreciated that. And I also wanted to make note that in case there was any question, town staff are proceeding as they have for years, the same process we've been following for years in supporting the CPA and acting upon my direction as chair. So they haven't deviated in any way. And their work, is really important to us. So the work of this committee it requires significant support. It's a very staff intensive committee, and their expertise and advice and logistical support are invaluable. And they essentially help us function effectively. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. And, Jason's question came up for me through my time here. This is my sixth year. And it occurred to me, that the CPA process has always felt a little bit clunky to me. And I think, just representative government is clunky. It is not wrinkle-free, and taking everyone's perspective into consideration and making decisions together is hard. So I think we've been using this process for years. We've been using it throughout this year's meeting itself, and I'm also eager to explore possible adjustments to help make the process more equitable, maybe more accessible, and maybe even more effective for all of us and for town residents who we serve. So while I have some ideas for adjustments and to the process, I know you all will have good ideas. So tonight, I just want to make sure that we're focused on our deliberations and our voting. And so I'm going to recommend that we continue our deliberation process and set aside a meeting later in the spring for administrative work to review the current CPA plan and offer up some adjustments so that you all think as a committee would be necessary for next fiscal year. I also just want to thank the public for I think we've had a record, and Leah, you've been amazing. To keeping track of, we've had hundreds of public emails and letters and comments, and the pro library and pro war memorial pool totally, I think, have met or even exceeded the pro pickleball correspondence we had a couple of years ago, which was a huge record for CPA. So I just want to thank the public for speaking up and being so enthusiastic about their opinions. So unless there's any contrary views of, what I've expressed about having, another administrative meeting later in the spring, or anything else that I've shared with my commentary here. If there is contrary views, I want to hear them, of course, but if there aren't any, we would move on to deliberations. But if anybody has any comments to add. And Bob, you're up.
If this meeting ends quickly and we don't get a chance to acknowledge the best chairperson ever, I want to make sure we do that.
Bob.
All in favor, say aye.
Bob is on some heavy duty drugs right now but thank you, Bob. I appreciate you. He's prone to hyperbole too. So
It's the morphine talking.
yeah, exactly. All right. So if that's all right, we'll move on to deliberations. Any other? Okay, great. So I just wanted to remind those viewers who weren't with us in the last few sessions, and also to just remind each of us at the end of at the January 22nd meeting, we did a quick run through of all the projects to get a sense of the committee's interest in the levels of funding for each of the projects. And of course, they're no means binding. We wanted it to be directional so that we asked the town to review this list and offer an option or an illustration or two for how we might fund the projects with a combination of debt and cash. And then to also share with us an illustration of how that level of debt might affect future funding from CPA. So we've invited Sean to join us to do that. But you also brought up some questions during our last deliberations that you wanted answered. And I wanted to be sure everyone received the information in the packet. Leah included the answers to the questions, as well as we've had two subsequent pieces of correspondence, one from Jones Library Inc. from Kent Ferber and one from Maria Kopicki. And I just want to make sure that the committee has all received those bits. I see some head nods. Okay, great. I know that one of the other questions that was outstanding was whether or not the town hall had a historic preservation restriction on it. And it does not. So we did get that answer from the town. It's not a standard practice for municipalities to do that with their buildings because it's really designed more for a building that might be sold. So that isn't usually done, and you need an independent body to hold the restriction, which is complicated for a municipal, a town-owned building. So there is no historic preservation on the town hall. That was a question related to the roof. I also had asked Dave specifically about the issue of supplanting that relates to the Jones Library Inc. application, and the town has explored this, and they do not believe it's that using CPA funds for the Jones project is supplanting. So if the committee recommends the project, it's going to be up to the town council to make the final decision, as you know, and they may request a legal opinion on the matter from the town's attorney. That has not been done yet, but that would be up to the town council to do. So I think those were the other outstanding questions that you didn't get in writing. And Robin, you had a comment?
I just wanted, I'll just put the question out there. It doesn't have to be answered right now, but I'm curious if municipalities ever have preservation restrictions on their buildings, and that one of the functions that they serve also in relationship, not just in relationship to sale, but in terms of future alterations to the building. So an investment in historic property is essentially saying we recognize this whole building as a historic structure, and the preservation restriction serves to continue the integrity of the entire structure, so that we're not just preserving one aspect of it, we're kind of helping to keep, and that doesn't, just to add, that doesn't mean that changes can't take place. It just means that they have to be reviewed. So people should understand that too about preservation restrictions. They're a review function. They are not necessarily a stop function.
Got it. Well, thank you. That would be, my understanding is they're not generally, cities and towns don't generally hold historic preservation restrictions on their buildings. Well, they can't hold it themselves. It would have to be a neutral party. So, but we can find out more for later on that. Okay, so just to review the process for tonight, Sean is going to share his illustrations for us to consider. You're going to have the opportunity to ask some questions, of course, and then we'll, as a committee, consider those options as well as any you might propose in terms of how we might fund these projects. And we'll have that discussion. Then we're going to start at the top of the list, the spreadsheet list of projects, and just move down one by one. And I'll move on to the next project after everyone has had a chance to speak who wishes to speak. And we'll just try to get to a majority opinion of the amount to put in for funding. And we won't vote because we've got to make sure when we get down to the bottom of the column that it adds up to the amount of money or debt we're willing to take on and the amount of money that we have. So we're going to go one by one through those proposals. Some of them may be super quick. Others, there could be longer discussions. But once we have the numbers line up the way we intend them to, and we have money for, then we'll move, I'll move for a roll call vote for each project. And we have to do that for each one so that everyone has the chance to vote yes or no to that project. And we keep track of that, vote count. And that is something that I bring to town council with our recommendations so that they see what the vote count looked like, if it was unanimous or if it was split in some way. And just like the Supreme Court, if you're in the minority opinion, you're absolutely welcome to submit your minority opinion to town council about that particular project if you feel so strongly about it that you either for it or against it, depending on how the majority votes. So you're welcome to do that. Folks have done that in the past. It's not common. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So I just wanted folks who are, especially who are new, to know that you have that ability if you wish. And then I present the slate of recommendations to the town council that we voted on with the vote tallies. And then they vote on the projects and they can either approve as recommended, they can reject it totally, or they can lower the amount that we recommend. They cannot increase the amount. Any questions on the steps we'll take? Jonas, do you have a comment or question?
Yeah, question. So
Yeah.
Sean has consulted with town council, or is more he's just looked at it from his own finance lens. He's looked at what we've kind of proposed.
That's right.
Looked at funding. So there's not been nothing beyond Sean.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thanks.
No. Yeah, that's how the process works. Town council gets to decide based on our recommendations what they wish to do. Any other questions about the process? Does it make sense? Did anyone have any other? Okay, great. Angus nodded his head, so I said we're ready to go. Okay, so why don't we start with Sean?
Hello, everybody. I'll be relatively quick. Let me share my screen. Just a little bigger. And I'm going to turn my daughter's tablet down a little bit. Just a little bit. There you go. You're good. All right. So thank you. Just a recap of the funding sources that are available, or the amount of funds available. So this hasn't really changed since last time you looked at it. Total estimated appropriation or funds available for next year is 3.6. When we subtract the debt that we anticipate, it leaves you with 3,093,000. One thing I want to just emphasize at this point is you don't have to appropriate or make a recommendation to appropriate the full amount. It's certainly within your scope. If you have money left over that you wanted it to roll over to next year, that you could. Just like this year, you started with a balance of 1.9. If everything is appropriated and nothing rolls over to next year, it could just mean next year's a lighter year potentially. So we have been more, we updated our estimates to be more in line with recent experience. So I'm not anticipating there's going to be as much extra money coming in between now and next year just to start off the FY28 CPA cycle. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to recommend appropriation of all the funds. That's up to you. But I just wanted to make sure that was clear. This is just a recap of what the estimated debt is for next year currently. So the three projects on the bottom of that little yellow table are the ones that are just getting started. Jones Library, Fort River Fields, and the Region Track and Field are new debt that would be coming online. So we looked at three different options based on the straw poll estimates that you came up with at your last meeting. So option one, if you chose not to recommend any borrowing, then you would have to reduce your project recommendations by about 1.5 million. The straw poll amount exceeded the amount of funds available by that amount. Option two, you could borrow 1.5 million, and I think the cleanest one would be just to borrow for the War Memorial Pool House. And if you did that, you would have to make a small reduction to what you had set aside for each of the projects, 62,000, to essentially align it with the funding available. And option three, borrow 2.1, so it'd be borrowing for the War Memorial Pool House and then partial borrowing for the town hall roof. If you did that, it would actually leave you $537,000 unallocated that you could either leave for starting fund balance next year or appropriate to other projects this year, or some combination of the two. And one thing I want to bring up also at this point is we talked about the debt and how, we looked at it from a very CPA specific lens, how much debt CPA has authorized in the past and what it looks like in the future. I did want to call out that CPA debt does impact the overall debt rating for the town. And we recently had a bond rating call. And when we look out 4 or 5 years, when we're taking on the school debt, the library, potentially the DPW, our debt does start to creep up. And so I do want to just caution that we don't want to take on a lot of debt from new debt because of that, because we have these other projects coming down the line. So it's not that you can't recommend it, but I would just put that in the back of your mind that we do have other projects coming online that are outside of CPA. And when our bond rating agencies look at our debt load, they look at all tax funded sources. So they look at CPA, general fund, and even debt exclusion like the elementary school. So just keep that in mind, that is a consideration that I would like you all to have. Do you want me to pause, Katie, about his question?
Sure. You're not totally finished, right?
Yeah,
Bob, do you want to
yeah,
ask your question now? Yeah, go ahead.
Before we move on from this slide, I don't get the math between 2 and 3, that we borrow an extra 600,000 for the partial town hall roof, and that really hammers our starting fund balance, whereas up above, it looks like we're only paying 62,000 in debt service, I assume, for the War Memorial Pool House. I don't get why that's such a hit.
Let me go through those one more time. Let me just go through one more time and see if it clarifies. So option one is if you chose not to borrow for any of the projects and you paid, cash 1.5 million for the War Memorial Pool House and you paid cash for the town hall roof, you would have to take out from the other projects that were approved, from those projects that were approved, you would have to take out 1.5 million, essentially, just to balance the appropriations with the funds available. If you borrow 1.5 million, essentially that 1.5 million comes out. You're essentially not having to come up with the cash for that in the first year. So that means of that 1.562 in option one, you can essentially take.
Thank you, Sean. I got it. I'm sorry, I was a little slow there. I got it now.
Okay,
thank you.
It was just blame the drugs. Okay. Thank you, Sean.
And then, so this is the last slide, and this is just you've seen version of this in the past. So the light blue background, that's the estimated CPA surcharge. So the funds available that are kind of reliable and predictable year after year. The dark blue at the very bottom is the current debt, and you can see the numbers in the table of what that is expected to be. Then the gray is if you were to add the 1.5 million. And in that column, that's what the total new debt would be with that project. So for War Memorial, it's not 664,000 by itself. That's how much it adds to the current debt, just to make that clear. So that would be the new total debt going forward. And then if you were to do option 3, which is 2.1 million, it would bring it up a little bit higher to 748. Now in this model, War Memorial is built in as over 15 years, and Town Hall roof is built in as over 10 years. Just so you know the terms, those could be tweaked a little bit, and it would have an impact either way, depending if we lengthened it or shortened it. But just so you know what terms were used as assumptions. Leah?
I just wanted to say that I can share my screen with the workbook, and we can plug the different numbers in if people wanted to see it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any questions before we switch over? Who's sharing?
Sean. Oh, I guess Jason.
Yeah, thanks. Sean, why was the War Memorial at 15 years and the roof at 10? I thought the roof is a much longer, would depreciate lower.
So we don't necessarily have to align the term of the borrowing, and we don't typically align it with how long the building will last or how long it will last. The War Memorial would probably actually have a longer life expectancy as a building than the roof will, right? The roof would probably be 20 to 25 years. The building will hopefully be, 30 to 50 years. So mainly that was chosen based on the amount, the 1.5 million being a larger amount spread out over more years.
All right, and I'm sorry, but I thought the slate roof was going to have.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I apologize. You're right. A slate roof. It could be 50 to 100 years. You're right. But the main driver there was the amount.
Okay, thank you.
Jonas.
Yeah, so Sean, what we're seeing here is modeling one of the scenarios, or this is actually covering.
It gives you kind of all three, right? So option one would be the solid blue section at the bottom. That would be taking on no new debt.
Okay.
Option two would be the gray. That would be if you took on just the 1.5 million. And then option three would be if you did 2.1. And so really one thing to look at is how much money do you then have for other projects with that debt? So for example, FY28, if you did option three, you'd have, that debt comes up to about 750,000, and we're estimating the surcharge at 1.4. So you'd have the difference between those two for new projects, plus whatever we bring in state reimbursements.
Yeah, I wanted to just add that fine line that Sean just said, which is he is choosing a very conservative baseline of that 1.4 growing over time. In my experience, there always has been state funding and, other sort of projects that don't go forward and then get added back in. So there's usually more than that, but I prefer to have that conservative model. But I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that when thinking about this. Angus.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the estimates that Sean you're providing here don't include any state matching funds.
Yeah, so the light background, sort of the CPH surcharge estimates, that it's solely the amount of money that is raised locally. Again, because that amount is very predictable, we know what it is, and it's essentially through the taxation process. It doesn't include state reimbursements, which have really fluctuated over the years.
Okay, and then I had another question, but I forgot it, so I'm going to let Jonas go, and then I'll try to remember.
Sounds good, Jonas.
Yeah, Sean, so you mentioned debt, the bond rating. Is current borrowing? Could that be affected if our bond rating slips and our rates go? Would that increase, or are things already in the books basically fixed rates, like locked in right now?
So we only have fixed rate debt for our current debt obligations, and it's not necessarily like a issue this year or an issue next year, but we're planning out 5 to 10 years, especially because we have these building projects, right? And so we're looking, we put on the debt that we know we have, we project the debt and, of what it could be with these projects coming online. And so, yeah, it's always going to be fixed, but if our total debt service that we're carrying becomes too high a percentage of our operating revenues, that can be viewed as a negative. It doesn't mean we can't afford it, and doesn't mean, we can't plan for it. But we want to do everything we can to avoid sort of those negative marks against us for our bond rating. Right now, we're a AA+, which is the second highest level you can be. We really want to be AAA, but there's a couple of things outside of our control that are kind of preventing us from getting there. But we also don't want to go back to like a straight AA or something lower than AA+.
Angus.
I remember it was about debt issuance. So the clarifying question that I have is, I presume this is actually a pretty small amount of debt. Both of these proposals are pretty small amounts of debt relative to the overall debt burden of the town, right?
Yeah, individually they are. So the War Memorial estimate is about $160,000 a year. The extra 600,000 is another, roughly $80,000 a year. So it's not that individually they're a problem. It's that every year there's different projects that come up where we might want to do a little bit here and a little bit there, and they do add up over time, right? I think that's what I'm trying to caution here is that to the extent we can control it, we want to try to limit how much new debt we add, given these other big projects we have coming up.
Thank you, Sean. This is great.
Yeah, and it's helpful that we have this sort of layered approach of having the town council review and approve or reject our recommendations because of this, as well as, other reasons, but because of the debt issue. Any other questions for Sean? Thank you, Sean. That was great. I don't know if is it helpful at all? Do people want to see those options up, or everybody got their notes and know how yeah, okay, how you feel about it? So if there aren't any other questions for Sean, why don't I would love to hear from any of you to share with all of us sort of how you feel about those options, or if you have a separate and distinct option that you wanted to offer the committee to consider. Just take a few minutes now to hear where you all are thinking, leaning. Yes, Angus.
I can jump off or start us off. I'm always reticent about debt, taking out debt, yet the town clearly has a huge amount of capital needs projects. So it seems to me like we're pretty inevitably going to have to. And there's a lot of worthy projects. So I think my inclination would be to go with the middle option, which is approving the 1.5 million for war memorial debt, and then trying to cut the 60,000 from other projects. I think we can nibble at the edges here and there and get under that. And that would still take a fairly large chunk out of future CPA budgets, but I think it would be manageable, it would be clean, it would be clear. So that's what I would advocate.
Thank you.
I would agree with that, Angus. I think that's a good approach. Maybe the only modification I might make would be a little bit less debt for the War Memorial Pool House, only in that they're both bond-worthy projects, and we might free up a little capital for future CPAC. That's the only modification.
So Bob, what you'd be saying is, like, let me just, as an example, you're saying, borrow 1.2 or something like that.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly. Somewhere in between there on the
but then we'd
sliding
have to
scale. So,
reduce.
right, $500,000 for the roof and $1 million for the bathhouse.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right, Tim.
I would like to see Leah's chart, because Sean based his numbers off of what we decided last time, and I forget what numbers have been allocated to each projects, and that would be helpful. If you don't mind? Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, we will definitely have this up for the remainder of the meeting, I guess, for sure. So it looks like you're illustrating, Leah, if option 2, it looks like.
That's where we left it when we were moving numbers, so I can change anything.
Yeah, Leah, change it back to 1.5 in the millions. Okay. Thank you.
Other reactions, comments? I think. Yes, Jonas.
Yeah, and you in your kind of introductory remarks, you were talking about how the great you saw so many pro library, pro
War
Memorial comments, that they rivaled the pro pickleball comments of however many years ago. I was not privy to that time.
Yeah.
And I know I was absent when we first kicked off the discussion on pickleball, but to see it being one of the only zeros here, that doesn't seem somehow to match the demand for it and the utility of it. So maybe it's too late to revisit that, but I wanted to be on the record again, that seems like the town spent a lot of time looking at alternatives, Stanley Field was rejected. And a lot of work was put into finding a viable alternative, and I think it was identified. And to see it, unless there's an idea that this is going to be revisited next CPA, I don't know, but it seems like it's just it's a long time coming. So
thank you, Jonas. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Would you have a recommendation if you're in favor of that?
Well, it
Of
feels
how-
extreme for me to, I mean, I feel like I'm an extreme polar, obviously. Others agree to 0, and I'm here asking for anything. I don't know where I would begin, what that number would be, but I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know,
just
I
to
don't even know
make
that
it
it can be partial because
right.
it's
No, I did
it
ask that
can't happen. We're up to
question.
650, so
I did ask that question about partial. I think it was in the response that, we really can't phase it. And if it doesn't go through, certainly the town is welcome to come back to this next year. But my sense was that that's probably unlikely, that if it doesn't go through with this cycle, it probably wouldn't come back. So your comments are appreciated. It's just to make this work, the numbers work, we'd have to reduce other projects or borrow more. I mean, those are the two options. And it seems like the committee is less inclined to borrow more. So, Ellen, we'll go to you next.
Yes. Well, first of all, Leah, is it possible to make this larger? Like maybe take out the vote part for now? It's just, I'm having trouble reading it. And yeah, my question was sort of about the pickleball. How much money has been spent on that already? And I guess I've just been thinking over the past 2 weeks, like, does this mean it gets nowhere, or hopefully the town would reapply next year? Maybe I'm asking a rhetorical question here, but it does seem that a lot of time and money has been spent already on the pickleball, and I was just concerned about that we would put the kibosh on the project altogether.
Yeah, I mean, we're deciding not, if we were to go with the way this looks, we would be deciding as a committee not to recommend this project. That doesn't mean there aren't other avenues, but this was the avenue that town was, hoping for. And again, as I said, my understanding is that they are unlikely to come back next year. It doesn't mean, they won't, but it's unlikely. And to answer your question, Ellen, I don't know the amount that's been spent on that already for feasibility and sound and all of that. I don't have that. But you're right. There has been an investment. So if those of you are sort of thinking about this and thinking about that you might lean in a different direction for pickleball, maybe coming up with a recommendation of how to do that with the funding we have would be helpful. And we could take that into consideration. Angus.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think this is a good year for the pickleball proposal. I think there's too many other pressing proposals, especially maintenance of existing facilities that need a lot of work. So I guess one question I have for you, Katie, do you have the way I read the response from the town is that it's not something that they could do something with a partial funding this year, but I didn't read that as that they're not planning on coming back next year. I just read it that it wouldn't move forward right now if we don't approve this funding. Is there some other you don't have any other information about that?
Well, I did very briefly speak to Dave, who said that it would be hard to, it was be hard to come back to do it again. He felt that if it was not voted to go forward this year, it probably wouldn't go forward. But
I guess I would just end by saying I would highly recommend the town come back next year, possibly with fewer other capital project recommendations, because I think good project. I also think that it would benefit from more involvement from the community speaking out in favor of the pickleball courts. Because I think if we had gotten an influx of comments like we got for the War Memorial Pool and the Jones Library, I think we'd feel under more pressure to act than we currently do. That's just the way politics works.
Thank you, Angus. I appreciate that. Tim.
Yeah, I read the pickleball zero as not, or this committee not disproving the project, but rather disproving the dollars for this year because of all the other needs. So I do think it should come back next year as well. And I don't think there's any reflection if we recommend not to approve it, that we do not approve of pickleball. We do not approve of the dollars within this grouping. So that would be my comment there.
Thank you, Tim. Bob.
Is it premature to start to play with some of these numbers in the sense that if we drop the War Memorial Bathhouse to a number and the roof to a number, presuming that we have some agreement about bonding, that given this year the way these proposals have come in, we're going to have to do some bonding. It might help focus the mind a little bit.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'd like to hear from Robin, and I do think I got the sense from a few people that I just want to make sure that I'm getting the sense around the bonding. Angus and you both sort of lean towards the 1.5 borrowing option, the number 2, which I'm also leaning toward, but I'd love to hear from others if that's in line with what you're thinking, Robin.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo pretty much what everybody was saying about pickleball. I would be concerned, and I don't know if there's an opportunity, given our procedural issue last time, whether we could get a clearer stance on whether this project can come back. I mean, I gave it a 4 because I thought it was a great project, and if it could wait another year, that would be great. I don't have a particularly strong opinion around bonding. I think but I would say that where I lean is if the town feels comfortable with option 3, I'm comfortable with option 3 if we feel strongly about getting all these projects' needs met.
Thank you, Robin. Jason.
Yeah, I just want to chime in, Katie, with I think option 2 is a good option, a combination of cash and bonding for the 2 projects. And I think once that total is column K is changed, that will inform some other decision making for me.
Yeah. Thank you. So thanks, Jason. I think we can move to what Bob's suggestion is, sort of looking at what the numbers look like. I think, Leah, you just put in bond for that.
Put in bond for the War
War
Memorial.
Memorial. So that's a total of $1.5 million borrowed. I know Bob said he'd like a little less debt, but Bob, can we just go with this figure for a minute and see? Sorry, go down a little bit, Leah. Okay. So does that, that includes, wait,
That includes
the 524 of
the
debt.
524, yes.
So it would be just, what would be the amount? Oh, we're 62 over. That's what
Yeah.
John had said. Okay.
Yep.
Angus, you had a
No, it's okay.
no. Oh, what? Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Can everyone see how it changed, like in the difference?
Yes,
Okay.
I can. Everybody see that clearly? It is too bad we can't just make this whole thing a little bit bigger.
No, and I don't know how to.
Get rid of the top.
If you double click, Leah, on like the next to where it says draw in the toolbar, it might disappear, and It used to do that. I don't know if it still does.
Where it says draw.
Next to it, to the right of it. If you double click, not on draw, but to the right of it, double click right there.
No.
What about the caret just above the W column? 2 carets above the W column. You go to the W column and then
Oh yeah, I have you guys there. Wait a minute.
Tim, you
But
had a
one more
comment.
up. I'll go one more up. That? No, never mind.
Tim, go. Oh, you're muted. Tim, you're muted. Tim, you're muted.
Sorry.
It was
The
brilliant,
reason-
whatever you said. So
Thank you. Shall I repeat it?
Can you? Yes.
I was going to say that the reason the word bond is in there rather than a dollar amount is because no bonding would be necessary in fiscal 27, correct?
We would have no debt payment in FY 27 because we wouldn't go out. The project can't start until next fiscal year, so we wouldn't borrow the money till
Okay,
later in the year. So your first principal and interest payment would be in FY 28 at the earliest.
right. So for next year, there's going to have to be some consideration of the cost of that bonding, but not for this year. Okay, got it. That's why. All right, understand?
Okay. So if unless there's anyone who would like to make a significant change, like Robin's suggestion about borrowing the 2.1, which would then potentially give us enough money or close to enough money for pickleball. We could talk about that, or we could move to the projects. It looks like Angus, you have a
I was going to suggest moving to the actual projects.
Yeah.
I would prefer us to try and cut down rather than increase the borrowing more.
Mhm.
I-
Yeah, that was Robin's suggestion. If anyone wants to speak in favor of Robin's suggestion, besides Robin, no, I'm just kidding. Otherwise, I think we'll start at the top from the projects. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, I feel like we have this question about pickleball, which we had decided we weren't going to fund, and then it sounded like maybe people weren't clear that that might kill pickleball. And I just want to make sure that we're clear on that before we go project by project.
Clear on it in what
Clear
way?
on it, on the sense that it seemed like some of us thought it would be good for pickleball to come back next year. And what you're saying you're hearing from the town, or the understanding from the town side, is that it is unlikely that it will come back, that will be the end.
I'm happy to ask Dave to speak to this
Thank you.
so that everyone can have the
Thank you.
answer directly. Yes. If Dave is, I can't see him, but I'm sure he's there. And if he's able and would like to speak to the pickleball possibilities for the future, maybe we could stop share so we can see each other. There he is.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. In terms of what monies have been spent, not a significant amount of money has been spent on pickleball. You may recall a few years ago, I believe CPAC allocated about and the town council voted for about $120,000 for pickleball. Some of that money has been spent. As you know, we have relined the courts up at Mill River, the tennis courts, so they serve both tennis and pickleball. And then we are engaged in a sound study at Grove Park for that site. I believe that contract is under $10,000. So the bulk of the 120, there's probably $100,000 left. So we really have not spent much of that. I will say it's really about the amount of staff time we've spent on this over the last 3 to 5 years pretty intensely. And I think I know from meeting with the pickleball folks, there's pretty significant fatigue just project fatigue. And I think that's one of the reasons why we did not get a lot of letters this year. As Katie indicated, I think a few years ago when this was coming before CPAC, I think we got over 100 support letters. But I think the pickleball community has, to some degree, moved on a little bit and is, playing in other communities. I honestly can't say whether we would bring this back next year. I think there's a significant amount of staff fatigue around this project. We've invested a lot of staff time in looking at sites. Groff Park is not, honestly, it's not a sure thing. We did some outreach to the community there, but there were some significant concerns from the community. I'll be perfectly honest. There were significant concerns from the community, even if we did the sound study as to whether they want pickleball there, given the potential for noise impacts. So I think that's the best I can do. I can't really say for sure that staff would bring this back next year, but we fully understand the budgetary stresses that are, engaged in this conversation and this year. So that's probably the best I have for this year.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. So, why don't we, that's food for thought as we go through. We're going to get to pickleball again as we go down this, down the chart, and we can continue the conversation. Oh, Ellen.
I'm just curious how that works. If only approximately 20,000 has been spent from roughly 120,000 awarded.
It comes back in.
Does it come back in?
Yeah.
And when is that decision made? Like, can we factor in that 100,000 possibly coming back in this year, or is it sort of held indefinitely?
For a period? No, it's a period. I forget. I don't know if somebody from town can answer that, but it's a period of time in which you then have to, Sean.
Yeah, I can
Go,
speak to
Sean.
it. So we're going to send out project update forms to all the current plan holders or current project holders. We typically do that in the spring so that and ask for them back over the summer so that we'll know which projects are either done and have money left over that can come back in before the next cycle, or just so we know the status of the projects. We typically give projects about 3 years before we start getting concerned. So for example, Dave will get about 27 project request activity forms for the various, because he's sports planning and conservation and all these different projects. And him and his team will have to work with the applicants to provide those updates and let us know what money can come back and which projects could be closed out. So for example, if pickleball, if they're done with it and nothing more is going to be done, he could release that money this summer and it could come back in for the next cycle. If they're done.
And that's, Ellen, that's what I meant by that conservative line of how much money we were getting from the surcharge. There's also the state match that it does fluctuate. But then there's that, projects that don't go forward or don't spend as much as they thought they needed to. And that money comes back in from time to time.
Katie, could I just add one thing to that?
Yes.
I think it just to be crystal clear, the money never leaves the town account.
Right.
So a nonprofit, any entity, whether it be the town or a non-town entity, does not, it's a reimbursable program.
Right.
So my staff is working with every applicant for the last umpteen years. We are working with every applicant, be it a town entity, a town department, or a nonprofit or anyone else, to move those projects along. So part of those updates will come through the town, even if it's non-town money. How is the church in North Amherst doing with their structural project up there off of Pine Street, et cetera, et cetera. So it's part of
thank you for that. When I say come back in, it gives a different perspective.
It's that project update. Where are they in that process?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we just don't have that in our cash because it's been allocated. And then sometimes it is reallocated back to us if it's not complete. But I really appreciate that note, Dave, because I don't think it's clear to everyone. It wasn't clear to me when I first started that this is a reimbursement project, it's reimbursable projects. So that is really helpful. Okay, so I think we'll move to back to sharing, Leah, so we could see our spreadsheet, our trusty spreadsheet. And we'll start with the War Memorial tablets. I don't think we have, oh, Tim.
Sorry. Just so I understand as we're going through, we have to now reduce projects by 60 something $1,000 if we don't want to bond anything other than the Memorial Bathhouse. That's correct?
Yes, or if we don't want, we could reduce by more if we wanted to not allocate some money and save it for the next year.
So as we go through talking about each of this project, we have to come up basically with 60,000 of cuts.
Yeah, 62,080. So yeah,
Okay.
63,000,
All
I
right,
would say.
that's what I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
At a minimum, right? And what we're doing now is going through each project and seeing if we have a majority agreement on the amount that's in there. And doing what Tim suggested, which is making some reductions where we can. And then we can go back and vote on each project. Jonas.
Yeah, I don't want to shirk our duties here and look for a shortcut. But would it make sense to just take that 1.5 and make it be 1.562? Like Sean came up, it seems like a 1.5 seems like a cleaner number than 1.562, but like I'm just wondering.
Well, we don't want to borrow more for a project, and we don't want to borrow 62,000 for some other project.
No, maybe why, if we've arrived at 1.5 million, I just don't understand why that can't be just 1.562 million. If
The
that,
the
then
1.562.
we're done this exercise.
Yeah, those numbers are similar in amounts, Jonas, but they're not related. The 1.5 was the request for the War Memorial.
Okay.
The 1.562 was how much you guys would have to remove from projects if we didn't borrow for anything. That was just the delta between if you
I see what you mean.
did non-debt allocations for all these projects and the amount of money we have available.
I
So
understand.
when you borrow 1.5, it reduces that 1.562 down to 62,000.
Right.
I think as well, you're borrowing for a particular project.
Right. We can't just call War Memorial 1.562
Yes,
and be done with
exactly.
it and somehow
Right.
put
Yeah,
that
that'd be
62
nice.
somewhere
I
else,
like
but-
I like your thinking of any shortcuts are welcome here. Okay. Wait, did Robin have somebody had a hand up, but no longer. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're in agreement with the amount on the Civil War Memorial tablets, unless I hear anyone speak to that. I will move on to Amity Street. Okay. So it felt like the majority was in favor of the 450. The last time we spoke, I think there are other places where we could reduce the 62,000 than here, but I would welcome other suggestions if there was somebody who wanted to reduce this. But it felt like we were all okay. I'm not seeing any hands up. So we'll keep going. Simeon Strong. We had a great conversation about this and why different committee members, some questions, and why some folks thought this was critical to fund fully. Are we all still on that page for that full amount? Robin.
Yeah, I'm still on the same page. I did speak to Gigi Barnhill, and she is going to reach out they're gonna seek additional funding, which might eventually reduce the amount of CPA funds, but for the purposes of right now, since they have nothing in hand, yeah, that amount would stand.
And thanks for that reminder. So that's another, Ellen, that's another good example of how sometimes this is approved or recommended and the town council might approve it, but it turns out that they might get a $50,000 grant, so they would need less money, and some of that could be reallocated back. Thank you, Robin. Okay, so on to the part-time planning and housing coordinator at 90,000. This is a 3-year temporary position. We can't fund regular ongoing operations. This is a temporary planning position that really helps with affordable housing. Any thoughts on any reactions to this amount? All right, let's move down to open space improvements. There's a lot of, some even wanted to increase the amount of this. So there was a lot of folks in favor of the full amount. I do think, with this, and this could be shaved slightly, even though we are all in, fully affirming that this is an important part of our community. But if we need to shave, this could be a place where we could take 10,000 or 20,000 out. No one is in favor of that at the moment, so we'll keep going. Okay. Robin.
I'm not in favor of taking 10% or 20% there if there's other interest. So
Thank you. Ellen.
Yes, I agree, but I need to cycle through the full list before
Okay,
making a decision on that.
sure. Tim.
I jumped the gun. I thought you were moving on to the municipal housing trust. I had a comment
No.
about that one.
I think that's fine. Keep going. Let's do it.
I would take the money out of there. I would take 62,000 out of the 325. We've given this group large amounts every single year. They have a decent balance, and we are agreed to some immediate housing with the Amity Street proposal. So I think we could cut the 325 down by 62.5 is my opinion.
Thank you. So reactions to that idea, Angus.
Yeah, I think that cutting it down could make sense. I'd prefer to see a few other reductions in other places potentially.
Okay.
The All Wheels Skate Park has given us 2 different options for moving forward with their project, so I think that could be potentially reduced. And then I expressed reservations about the Goodwin Church restoration, given our what I feel is not due diligence on the project and getting a clear proposal on it. I know Robin has proposed an alternative, but I'm not comfortable with voting on that without more information. And so I think there's ways to cobble together 20,000 here, 20,000 there. That's what I would say.
Jason.
Thanks.
Oh,
I
there
would
you are.
prefer to not take any money out of the housing trust and rather look at the library project for cuts. There's a funding already, or there's money. It's a large project. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of, I think, still questions about maybe the appropriateness of CPA money being used for that project. So I would, and the municipal housing trust, the money that they get, they do have a good balance, but it's my understanding that the money that they get and the money that they have generally goes out and is used on something of an emergency basis, as well as I'll say future planning projects for housing, which we just desperately need in this town. And it really helps people out that may not have any other place to turn to for help. And so while I agree with the number that we have here, 325, I would not like to see that number reduced anymore. And I would prefer the whole 60,000 come out of the library project. Frankly, I would prefer not to fund the library project at all. But if we're going to fund it, I would like to see, if we're looking for 60 some thousand to cut, I would like to cut it all from the library project.
Thank you, Jason. Ellen.
Yeah, I'm also not feeling that I want to cut more because we've already cut it by 200,000, the request. So I would not like to take the 62 out of that. I am on board with Angus about the 48,000 for the church, even though that is painful. I have some thoughts on that when we get to it, and then maybe take 20 out of the open space improvements or something, and then we've reached our goal. But again, more to discuss.
No, it is really helpful to get ideas like that out on the table. So I welcome that and encourage folks to do, because we may hit on something that a lot of us agree on. Robin, go ahead. Robin, there you are.
Yeah, not in favor of reducing this one.
Thank you. Very succinct. Thank you. Tim.
You've convinced me. I would agree that's not the place now to take the 62. Let's talk about the other ones and see if we can shave it from there. So I'll change my original proposal.
Okay. You're a convincing lot. That's good. Okay. So we'll keep moving down to the restoration of the town hall slate roof at $1 million. Jonas.
Well, I would say if we don't shave from the Jones, or that would be a place, I mean, 1 million, nice round number. I know obviously the War Memorial is coming in at 1.5 million, but is it truly $1 million? I don't know. It could be 912, could be 930. Maybe that making it 930 forces some like fiscal restraint, or I'll say again, I feel like it's a project that maybe has mothballed and has been under managed, and now it's this big expense, and that because it wasn't managed, now it's all hitting at once and it's a big number. And so I'm not, obviously I'm in the minority about the overall rating of it, but yeah, I would say that money may come from there. But I would also agree with the Goodwin Church. I would want to have more information as well, looking down the list. So
thank you, Jonas. Robin.
I think I'd be comfortable with a $50,000 reduction here. I don't think that it would impede the town's ability to go forward with the project. That would be my main concern, and it's a large amount and it is a round number, and I think moving it down 50 would, I think it would do little harm.
Thank you. So a reduction of the slate roof from $1 million to 950 is your possible suggestion. Okay. Excuse me. Jason.
I would support that reduction.
Anyone else? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, well, that is a possibility. It sounds like we've got a couple of folks. I'd be in favor of that. Jonas.
I'm just wondering, like, it seems like we're vacillating between a couple of options, like maybe take a little bit here or there. And obviously the town council can take this with as much weight as they want. But would we consider just recommending, one of these two places we want you to take 62 out of if we don't come to an agreement tonight? Or do we want to?
No, we've got to come up with a
Okay.
recommendation
Never mind.
specifically. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still looking for shortcuts.
I know. I love it. I appreciate you. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. Angus.
Yeah, I think my only concern, I'd be fine with reducing this. I do not rate this the town hall slate roof as a high priority. It seems to me like the town should be coming up with more funds for that. But I know that they do have a grant of some kind, and so I guess I would want confirmation. I don't want us reducing it by 50,000 to sink the project. I can't imagine that it would, but I guess I'd like a sense that the town could if they wanted to appropriate that additional $50,000. Because I would hate for us to be $50,000 short and that would stop the entire project, which I don't think is our intention. But I'd love to
Yeah.
reduce it by 50,000 if the project can continue.
Sorry, daughter decided to get crushed ice right at the right time. No, I mean, until we get bids, we won't know the exact costs. So I think to other points made, bids could come in lower. So I think we can manage a $50,000 reduction in that line.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, well, do we want to? It sounds to me, I heard 3 or 4 people that seemed we didn't want to reduce the housing trust. But can we look at what 950 looks like? We know it's going to mean $12,000, $13,000 somewhere else. Ellen.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we discuss all of the projects before doing that.
That's fine.
So
That's
I
fine.
can see, I can see where I would take the 62 out without that. But
Okay.
I just feel we need to talk about it
So
all.
you'd prefer to go through each one and not do any, and then have a discussion?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine by me. All Wheel Skate Park. Angus.
Yeah, as I noted earlier, I'll just quickly reiterate. I think this is a place that we could shave $20,000 off, especially because it's potentially leading to the creation of new recreation space, and we are already having trouble funding other attempts to create new recreation space. So I think that would allow them to move forward with their project, but not all the way. And they could come back another year when there's fewer asks.
Thank you, Angus. Anyone in agreement with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. I was in, they presented to the rec department the first, in a meeting, and I think they were open to the 20 or the 40. The 20 is the full, is that the option A was a full 20? Is that the actual number?
Yeah, 20 or 40. Yeah.
Perfect. So I do think they, that they are going to be doing assessment anyway. That 20,000 will give them their assessment, and that they will, I'm sure, come back to us
Right.
next year. So I think that's a good idea.
Ellen, thank
agree.
you.
I agree.
Okay, great. Thanks, Robin.
Same.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement with that. Anyone? Oh, Robin, you still have your hand up, do you? Okay, got it. Anyone? Okay, let's keep moving on then. The conservation area recreation signs, we made the recommendation last time at 50. Are people feeling like that's the amount they'd like to land on there?
Well, does it beg the
Um,
question of if I mean, and this still in back of the napkin, because to Ellen's point, we'd like to go around the whole list, but like, let's say in the back of our mind, we could take 20 off the skate park, and maybe not off the roof, but then we're looking at the Goodwin. Are we then thinking of putting money
think-
back, putting money
yeah,
back
I
into
think-
something like this? Are we going the opposite direction at all? Or is
yes,
that
of
just
course. Yes,
complicating it
we
too much?
absolutely could make that, a consideration, for sure. Because it wasn't binding. So if people felt strongly the other way, we just would have to shave 113,000 off, so if we added. I mean, I feel comfortable with this amount. Bob?
I really want to see it fully funded at 100 and would shave other places. So let me just go on the record for that.
Yes, great. Thank you. Ellen?
Yeah, we've already cut it by 50%, so I would not want to cut it any further.
Right. But are you comfortable with that amount, or would you want to increase it as Bob suggested?
If we cut other things, yes, then I would up it back higher.
Yep. Tim? Oh, Tim, you're muted again.
Sorry, I think in
That's
the
okay.
minutes I was dubbed the sign guy, so I'll take advantage of that, right? Or somewhere I read that. But anyway, I would agree with what Ellen just said. I think we can cut other places, and I'd like to fully fund it. So when we get to that point, that's my opinion.
Okay. And Ellen, I would just say that sometimes putting numbers in helps us figure out along the way where we want to, it's sort of like keeps modeling it. We just that's in my experience in the past, we just sort of keep putting numbers in and then saying, wait a minute, that's too much. But
that's fine.
We
It just
can keep.
just made me nervous.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to be nervous about until we vote. And then it's a final recommendation.
I understand that whatever's the best method. I defer to you.
Listen, this is very tough to do. But what I'm hearing is some real clarity around, sort of this top half, folks feeling pretty strongly about the funding numbers. And not surprisingly, as we get into the middle and bottom, it's a little more complicated. So it did seem like there was a sense around the 40,000 going to 20 we were sort of sounding like we're in agreement around that. I'm not moving to Leah, don't change anything yet. The slate roof is another place where we might possibly, if we need to, take from. The town sign sounds like folks are interested in giving more there. So we'd have to reduce elsewhere. So let's keep that. That's just my very quick summary. Let's go down to the completion of the industrial history Mill River. That was $125,000 ask. We had a lengthy conversation about that and came down at 75,000 as a recommendation. Does anyone have? It looks like Robin's got a comment on that. So go for it, Robin.
Okay. I'm not quite sure how I didn't quite make this point before, so I apologize for having to deliberate a little bit more heavily on this project. And I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. But I just want to start off by saying that there's history and there's historic preservation. And in order to meet the preservation aspect of a CPA grant, it's my feeling in my read of the law and looking at this project that what should come out of it are documents that go into the macro system that can be used for the town in its preservation planning purposes. The project had a number of different line items, and my $75,000 was based on I don't think I said this at the time. It seemed like we were moving very quickly, but it was based on my proposal would be $40,000 for historic research. They have a line item of, they call it exhibits, but it seems to be a digitization of historic resources for $25,000. That would be considered preservation of, historic photographs and articles and that sort of thing. And then there was another $10,000 for archaeological and physical data because we have some ruins in that area. So my only point here, and Brian Harvey and I had a couple of emails back and forth. We weren't able to connect by phone. I don't know if everybody remembers the Verizon outage that happened, but that was my scheduled phone call with him. But he did send me a list. I mean, I know that when we talked about this, when they were presenting about the properties that would fall under the creation of these Macris forms, he did send me a list. I looked at it. I identified 36 properties. I felt very comfortable with that. But his last email that we got in our material said, his last statement was, well, our funding will not pay for any actual filings with the state. And my concern is that funding this at $75,000 without those Macris forms for that or 40,000 portion that I'm looking at makes it a history project and not a preservation project. And I feel pretty strongly about avoiding CPA going for history education. This is a fantastic project. I mean, I can only say that 100 times over to stress how in support I am of the project as a whole. But from a CPA perspective, I want people to know, and I think I'm making a proposal here that we make that 75,000 contingent on those numbers. And I realize it's kind of late in the game to do that. And if people don't want to do that and are fine with awarding it as is, that's fine. But I just wanted to make that clear that was my understanding. It was part of the reason why the Historical Commission didn't make a recommendation at the time of their meeting, because it wasn't clear what the deliverables would be and how they would relate to preservation. And so these documents that go into Macris, they're considered part of preservation planning. Macris forms can be used for the establishment of historic districts, and they're also really essential in terms of the demolition delay process. And these all these 36 buildings have outdated forms that the state considers out of date and need to be updated. So that's my pitch.
So Robin, just to be clear, you enumerated the 40 for the historic research, 25 for digitization, and 10,000 for this sort of I'm doing shorthand archaeologicals for 75, and that
Yep.
you're recommending if we were to make this grant as a committee, you would want that 75,000 with a contingency that the Macris forms was a deliverable of the project. Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to make sure I'm clear on what your proposal is.
Yes, yeah.
And
And-
that's because that would be just to be clear, I just want to get that in my head about the Macris forms, being in the system is what is historic preservation.
It's considered part of preservation planning. So if a building comes up for demolition and we have a Macris form that the old forms have like 4 lines of information on them. And that doesn't give us enough historic information to go on in terms of our demolition review. An updated form makes the case much better for the historic significance of the building.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then they're also used if we're in the process of looking at creating another local historic district. They're used for that in any district that down the line that the town might want to consider. Those forms are the basis of the historic information. So all this research is being done. I've prepared Form Bs myself from start to finish. If you're working really fast, you can do it in about 5 to 6 hours of form. So it's not a huge amount. It's not a huge time investment. It doesn't have to be incredibly detailed narratives, but yeah, I don't feel like funding research alone is sufficient to meet the
Preservation.
preservation aspect.
I see. Okay. Bob, thank you, Robin.
That's incredibly interesting and useful information. If we translate that into what your recommendation would be, it would be to fund the whole thing?
No, it would be funding, I mean, my 75,000 is based on $40,000 contingent on those Macros forms, and then there's another $25,000 that they outline for digitization of resources, and then another $10,000 related to archaeology. So, yeah. But it's up to this committee to see if they want to make that a contingency, because that's not how it was presented. That was my suggestion. And it's still my concern. The town has put it before us, presuming that it meets eligibility without the requirement, because they don't pass things on to us that they don't feel meet that requirement, but that's my sense. And the other thing the other thing that I wanted to address was that in Brian's email, he also requested 20,000. I think he said moving 20,000 from, I won't complicate things, $20,000 for a website. I will say firmly that website development, again, fabulous project, amazing. It is not it's not preservation. It's not related to historic preservation. And so I would not add that additional 20,000 that he requested in his email if people got a chance to look at that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Robin, or how are folks feeling about that proposal? Any reactions to that? Jonas?
Yeah, so I think just to recap, Robin, I believe in the session where we kind of delved into this, you just thought it could be leaner. There was some, like the website, and just you thought that it had good merit, but that like let's shrink it a little bit. And I agree with it. I think I defer to you, and then I think as for stipulating, that seems like it's the right thing to do, is to ask for the stipulations or in earmarks, and then it seems like I would think they'd be amenable to them if it meant either getting the 75,000 or not getting the 75,000. So it seems like the right thing from what
Yeah,
you've
and just to
described.
be clear, of that 75,000, 40,000 would be 40,000
Contingency.
Would be
yeah,
earmarked.
would be the contingent amount. Like, I'm not as concerned about the digitization or the archaeological areas.
Thank you. Angus?
Sounds good to me.
Ellen?
I agree and defer to Robin's expertise. I'm just wondering, could the group come back in a future year under recreation to do a website, or is a website just completely out of CPA purview? Do you know?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer if a website could go under recreation. I don't know.
Because that seemed like a high priority to Brian in his email, but
Right.
I just can't think of where it would fall under of our
Right,
funding
right.
categories.
Yeah. Maybe something like Mass Humanities or another funding source. I don't know. I appreciate Robin's thoughtfulness in this, and I really like this project, and so I'd love to be able to provide some funding, and I think the contingency on the $40,000 historic research piece makes sense, you know.
Agreed.
Any other reactions? Okay, so we are moving on to cemeteries, where we had reduced the request from $100,000 to a $50,000 funding. Are folks still good with that? Want to make any changes there? Okay, hearing none, I think we'll stick with that since we reduced it already. Robin?
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Oh, Goodwin Church. I think that's
Yeah. I just want to make another plea for this project. I can inform you that two members of the Historical Commission met with representatives of the church and did a site visit. I haven't had a chance to delve too deeply into having that conversation with them. But I wanted to just make a couple of reminders. Again, my proposal to put this money in reserve, which is different than awarding it to the project applicant, it's to hold it. There is precedent for that both with the North Church, and I believe we also had a just to address the fact that we do things off cycle. I believe that we had Dave can speak to this, but I believe that we had an off cycle award that was related to a park grant. But my historical memory may not be correct on that.
Well, we did vote also on the track off cycle.
Yeah,
Okay, right. So just to give, since a lot of people are new here, to give them a sense that going off cycle isn't extremely unusual.
Mhm.
And then the next thing I would say, I would just talk about this church in relationship to, I know that we have some issues with the challenge of their proposal. I did let everyone know that they lost their pastor who had been the point person, which is probably the reason for a lot of the lack of response that we weren't getting in this particular cycle. And that when we look at these resources from a perspective of equity, marginalized communities just have a much harder time coming up with the resources. And this building is on the National Register, and it's currently leaking water at the chimney, and there's water damage inside. It's not something, if it waits another year for a better proposal, it's a small amount of money. I think that it will be deleterious to the resource itself, which is part of Amherst history, which isn't the main narrative of Amherst history. And so I feel a little emotional tonight, particularly strongly about trying to keep that perspective on this project. And the Historical Commission is really making an effort to connect with and move it forward so that we can get an appropriate proposal in front of the committee, in front of the town. And also, just like I've been asking and suggesting of other projects, to see if there's additional funding outside of CPA for this. So that's, I would really, I would not like to see that $62,000 come from this particular small amount. And I do want to hold it in reserve and hope that we can give the proposal a chance to grow to something that that works for everybody.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you very much, Ellen.
I desperately want to fund this project too, for all the reasons that Robin just outlined. But I am worried about doing something, putting aside money when there's so much requests for money. And I don't know what the rules or ethics are, but I mean, is there a way, and it sounds like the Historical Commission is trying to work with them for some type of emergency funding. And I mean, I'd be willing to help in that. Grant writing is something I do, and I don't know if that's something I can offer, but I just I'm struggling because their application was not complete, and people spend a lot of time and money completing their applications. And I know they've come across some really difficult times, but I again am just having trouble when we need to cut money with a proposal that's not complete.
And Ellen, thank you very much. And you can offer your voluntary services, and I appreciate that very much.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Yes, of course. And thank you for your comments, Jason.
I'm going to echo what was previously said. I think that this project is a worthy project, and likely that the alternative funding sources for the Goodwin Church project, or for the applicants, they probably have far less alternatives to try to find funding sources than some other projects, especially the library project. I'll say it again, I don't think we should fund the library project at all. That would free up a large amount of money, allowing us to fund most of the other projects. And I would hate to even just I would like to set the money aside. I would like to try to work with them, because it is a worthy project. It's preservation. It's a it's a it's a community, it's a community asset that I think while the library will also be a community asset, there's far more funding there, far more they have a far greater ability to find additional funding sources than I believe the church would. And it's not really a large amount of money either in the grand scheme of the total, especially when you look at some of these larger projects just in this year alone. So for all the reasons stated previously and for the ones that I just said, I really would like to not I would like to try to dissuade everybody from not funding this project if you are thinking of it, or at least setting aside the money to Thank you.
You're in favor, yeah, in favor of that. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Jonas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to penalize the applicants for, for the reasons stated, and it's good to have that background, Robin. I guess one concern would be kind of how would if the money went through, what's the oversight on that? I think that's one of the biggest questions we had without a good presentation, was wondering, what's the plan for the 40,000? What's kind of, who do you think is going to be how will that money be used? Are there mechanisms that you're confident with, Robin, as much as you can assess? There are mechanisms in place that money is going to go where it needs to go, and
I think
not suggesting it would be misappropriated, but like just having, that plan helps you just feel confident that there's a plan for the money once we
Right.
disperse it. So, but I also would say Jones Library, I'm with you, Jason. I don't know about going to zero, but definitely, I think it could go to the Goodwin Church. So, thanks.
So Jonas, just to be clear, the
Yeah.
$48,000 would be in reserve until an appropriate plan could be developed,
Oh, okay.
and that would then
Yeah.
come back to us
Yeah, that's
for review and approval, and the town would be involved. And again, just another reminder of this is a reimbursement, it's
right.
it's
Oh, I see.
there's a lot of checks and balances on that. So
Right, there's right.
but that would be the
what David
process.
mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
we wouldn't be approving the project tonight based on Robin's recommendation. We could, some folks might want it to go to zero, which I totally understand because there's so much need. On the other hand, it is urgent, and that would be one of the reasons why I would want to hold the money aside, because it's not something like, oh, this can wait till, July of 27. And so being able to work with them to get a plan that we would all review and be in agreement with. I'd be in favor of that. Does that make sense, Jonas?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. I just want to make sure about that we wouldn't be approving something tonight or just letting, Robin decide to go with something. We would be seeing that. Okay, Robin, you're up.
Yeah, and it looks like Dave is going to maybe speak to that. I was just going to add one more thing. I think maybe I've changed some hearts and minds, but the other, I was reminded that the other issue with active churches is that they are excluded from a lot of historic preservation funding. So that's yet another reason why it's challenging for them to. CPA is one of the few places that they can come. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Dave.
Yes, a couple of things. One, I agree with a lot of the sentiment that's being shared here. I think my staff is very supportive of trying to work with this project and the applicants here to try to make something happen. I was curious if Sean might be able to speak to this idea of reserve. I'm not sure I know exactly what that means. And coming back means going back through the council. It's just a little more complicated. So I'm curious if Sean might speak to that. And I did just want to clarify one thing I said earlier in the meeting. There are two ways, and Leah can correct me if I'm wrong on this. So money doesn't go out to the applicants. It's either a reimbursement or we are paying invoices once the work has been done. So I just wanted to clarify
Right.
that can be a little bit of a subtle thing. So I just wanted to be crystal
Yes.
clear on that because I didn't include that in my statements a few minutes
Thank you.
ago. Thanks.
I so appreciate that because it's not as if the Goodwin Church would have to be out the 48,000 themselves and get
Right, and
reimbursed.
lots
Yeah,
of
you're
applicants,
paying invoices, yeah.
But staff work with every applicant, whether it's a town project or a community project. We work with all of them and we verify the work has been done and an invoice should be paid. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sean,
Yeah, quickly on the budget reserve. So if you do go that route, it's different than just not appropriating the funds, which would fall back to the CPA kind of carrying account. You would recommend the 48,000 go to a budgeted reserve. And then you'd essentially have a mini CPA process at some point during the year when that project was ready. They would come present to CPA. You would hold the hearing. You'd go through the whole process again, and make that recommendation to council, who would go through their process again. And as Robin mentioned, we've done it before. And I believe Robert or Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've awarded CPA funds to Goodwin in the past. We've worked with them in the past. So we've invested money in that building, and I think we all would like to make sure the building stays in good shape.
thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Angus.
Just two clarifying questions. So would we be voting tonight on holding something in reserve? Is that something that we'd have to vote on?
Yes.
Okay. And then, and this would have to happen before the end of June, correct?
That's right.
I mean, the proposal would have to come in, we would have to meet, we'd have to vote, and then the town council, would they also have to vote before the end of June?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
All right.
And Katie, I'll
Who's that, Sean?
clarify.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'll clarify the end of June. I don't know necessarily that it has to happen before the end of June if you have it as a budgeted reserve.
Oh,
I know
okay.
for most things, that's the trigger, and I'll have to double check that. It may be until sort of the next CPA cycle starts, but
Okay.
let me double check that, and I can send that back to the committee. Hopefully, that won't change the way you vote on this now, but I can get clarification on that.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to just say, I see Ellen's got her hand up. It's time check at 7:45. We're almost to the end of the list, and then it does take time to vote on each of these. So and we're not totally in agreement. I think we have a couple of proposals out there of how we might reduce. We're getting very close. So people, we're going to stick with this, right? Till we get it done. Okay. Ellen.
Yeah, I know there was we encountered difficulty like 2 months of trying to get in touch with members of the church to answer our questions, and which we never received. So if we hold the money in reserve, which it sounds like we're leaning toward, do we have any, has anyone been in touch with the church? Like, do we know if there's even anyone willing to redo the application and answer the questions and, go through
I
the
think
process?
Yeah, Robin did say that the Historic Commission has met with them and done a site visit. And I think that was indicating, Robin, correct me, that there's need, and it's an urgent need, and they're interested.
There we go. Yeah, no, Hetty Startup and Joel Greenbaum met with them on Tuesday. I wasn't able to be there because I was out of town. So I tried to have a conversation with Hetty before we met today, but I wasn't able to reach her. So, but they've made contact, they've done a site visit. We've talked about it at the Historical Commission. We're really committed on trying to help the proposer move forward and get something that's a good proposal in due time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and yes,
Thanks, Ellen.
I'll email you, Ellen, regarding your offer. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So it sounds like there may be folks who would vote against this, but seems like there's some movement towards a reserve, pending a new proposal and approval. Okay, so we are going to move on to pickleball. And I know we've had some conversation already tonight about this. We had Dave speak to this. Any more comments? We know Jonas's stance on wanting to bring this back into the fold. Is anyone in agreement with that, or fine? Are folks fine with how we're landing? Oh, thanks, Leah. Robin.
Yeah, after Dave spoke, I felt like perhaps, I don't know, the air had come out of the balloon on this project, and maybe the lack of a significant amount of public comment indicated not as much interest in moving forward, which wasn't necessarily the sense that I came into these meetings, remembering the enthusiasm from past years. And so I'm feeling just more inclined to keep it as we've ranked it.
As is. Okay. I think I'm leaning in that direction, Jonas.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to
We
sway
know.
you here at all. I will just say maybe it's like a recommendation for future process. I'm just wondering why members of the pickleball community didn't make this presentation. Maybe it's because by then it was in the town's hands, but I think that can maybe have a little bit of an influence. Just like in one way we wanted the Goodwin Church people to come talk about their enthusiasm, why this should happen. Like for instance, it's off the list now, one of the top, the $450,000 for the Amity. That to me was very convincing because the people directly involved spoke to it. So I'm wondering if that maybe, that's a subtle. I think maybe the fact that pickleball didn't present personally, maybe it would have moved the needle a little bit if they had, and that might have just been a quirk of the fact that they've done it so many times in the past. Now it's in the town's hands because the town has done the studies, and so that's just a comment for the future.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Angus.
Yeah, just a quick comment in response. I think the town did a fine job presenting. I think my issue is the lack of public comment. And I don't know if that's mobilization or awareness, but I feel like we got I don't know, I feel like we got one or two comments about the skate park, and I don't recall really any comments about pickleball. So to me, I used to teach AP government, and that's a problem of political mobilization. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens. Things fade. People have a couple of courts that work right now, and so there's maybe not as much of an.
The rec department meetings, there was a lot of representation by the pickleball community, and they've been coming to all of our rec department meetings. Obviously, you were not in on that, so I'm not gonna expect you to have channeled that, but just for the record.
No, but yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Jonas. I wish we'd known that earlier.
It's not in our records or our minutes, so it's not.
And I wish they'd come to these meetings as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Robin.
Yeah, Jonas, so is it your feeling that there is still a strong
Well, I think there is, but I'm not gonna
wait. Okay, all right.
I'm not gonna be a proxy for them, and to Angus's point, if they haven't come out and represent here. I don't know that we've seen them in the attendees. I don't know if I would recognize names of folks, but I would say that it's prima facie at this point. We've seen other causes get more traction in the comments in the email. So
well, we did have public comment at each meeting available to the public, and also our public hearing. So there was whether or not they were in attendance, but there was an opportunity for the public to speak. Leah, have we lost our?
No, I can get it back. I just want to let you know I did send out, there was only one comment, written comment that I received on pickleball that was sent to everybody, but that was the only one that I had received by email.
Thank you. That's a good reminder. Okay, so oh, Jason, you have a comment?
All right, Leah, do you know how many comments you received for the skate park? Off the top of your head there, or could you, just out of curiosity?
Let me see if I can go back to it.
Thanks.
Oh, we don't need to
You're sharing your
watch you.
screen, yeah, so.
Yeah, it's because I'm
Yeah.
sharing the screen.
We can,
I don't think I remember receiving any for the skate park though.
yeah.
It was pickleball, war memorial, and the library. Mainly.
Yeah, for and against the library. And I don't think we should take time to do that. Sorry, Jason. Just I want to keep us moving here. I don't think we had an all-out. We certainly didn't have multiple, for the skate park. We're going to the Jones Library next, and then the last one is the Industrial History of the Mill River Passive Recreation piece. Sean has his hand up, so Sean?
Yeah, Katie, I phoned a friend, Sonia, who did CPA for
Yes.
30 years to get the answer to
Wow.
that reserve question. So there's
Impressive.
different types of reserves. So if you did it as a general reserve, you would have it available through June 30 of next year. So of FY, because this is for FY 27.
Oh,
So you would
okay.
have it through June 30 of FY 27. So you'd have time. If you
Thank
do it
you.
as a historic preservation reserve, it'll stay there forever until you appropriate it. So you have two
Okay.
options. You could do it as a general reserve where it has to be used sometime next year, or as a historic preservation reserve where it would last forever until it's appropriated.
Wow, Sean, impressive. Thanks,
That's all
Sonia,
Sonia.
for
So
us.
yeah, I will.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have one
Wow.
other question about process.
Yes, Angus, go.
So would the new CPA be hearing that discussion if it happened in 2027?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
the goal is to move this as quickly as possible because of the destruction, this damage. So
No, for sure.
but yes, if it went past June, it would be it's a new fiscal year, new committee. Yeah. Okay, so we're back to the Jones Library. What I've heard tonight from Jason is the desire to zero that out or reduce it. Some folks have talked about reducing this as a way to get to the goal of reaching the other factors. We've had a general sense of reducing by 20,000 the skate park and an increase to the signs. So what are folks thinking about? We've heard Jason. I'm not sure if we've heard anyone else, so why don't we go Angus?
Sure, I'll keep it brief. This is the only project that is actually already funded. When I asked about whether this work would happen, whether we approve it or not, it will happen. It's required to happen. So I think it makes sense to reduce this number. I think one option we could consider right now, this 577 number is a combination of two things in their proposal. 477 for wood carpentry repair and restoration, and 100,000 for wood floor repairs. So I think we could potentially just cut out the wood floor repairs, cut 100,000 from this, which would get us under the $60,000, fully fund everything else, and we could even add 20, 30,000 to the conservation area signs, which a lot of people expressed an interest in. So that's kind of the thing that I would recommend.
Great suggestion. Thank you. I appreciate that. just one tiny note on what you said about it is going to go ahead because it's required to go ahead. I think that is true. And it also requires this fundraising on this one section. And if that doesn't go through, then the use of endowment dollars. So you're right. And there's just a little bit of a library endowment dollars. So that there's just a little nuance there. Just wanted to mention. What do folks think of Angus's proposal? Ellen?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's quite accurate to what our last discussion was. I think it was the money, the 577 was to fund the restoration of the interior woodwork and the exterior trim. We had cut out the windows, putting in new
Yeah.
windows. I don't think the floor was part of that.
The
So
floor is part of the 577.
of the woodwork. Okay, but then it was also the exterior trim. I thought those were the two.
It
They
was,
gave
yes,
us, yeah, they gave us
You're right.
3 things they needed funding, and we cut the windows out. So I
right.
just wanted
And
to
so,
clarify that.
thank you. And so, but Angus was suggesting we also cut the $100,000 for a floor repair, so we'd have that money to put back into signs and other places. Does that make sense?
So then
So
are we still
477.
would it still fund the trim, all the woodwork, interior woodwork?
Yes. Yes. It would just it would pull out the floor, the wood floor restoration.
Okay.
I should just quickly interject. I actually don't care how they spend the money on the various woodwork or trim. I just think we should cut 100,000 there and use that money in other places. And looking at their original proposal, it seems like they had 100,000 they were dedicating to one particular thing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's a proposal. Okay, Bob, you're up.
Yeah, Angus, I support that proposal. I'm not sure the math works out perfectly because I think with the $48,000 contingent on Goodwin Church, we still need to cut the roof by 50. Do I have that right?
Well, if we cut the skate park by 20 and we reduce another 100 from the Jones Library, that's 120. And we had to reduce it by 60, so if we put 50 back into the signs. Sorry, 50, no, I didn't say that. Leah, sorry. Keep that at $1 million for a second and do the 50 back into the signs. Sorry. Keep going. Yeah. Does that is 3617 our target?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, don't forget, you also don't have to spend every penny. So you
Right.
can
Absolutely. No,
delete
agreed. Yeah.
400,000 from
But
somewhere. And
I just wanted to
yeah,
make
Katie,
sure that
before I lose the floor and at the
yes.
risk of not being professional, I'm in profound pain, and I'm just gonna say that I support that proposal. You guys can modify it however the votes go. I can't hang on anymore. I'm
Okay.
sorry. My morphine's going down. I
Bob, you're
apologize.
so good to be with us. I really appreciate your input. Thank you.
I've so enjoyed working with you all this season, and I look forward to reconvening about the Goodwin Church later on.
Be well. Take good care.
Thank you.
That's amazing. He just had his shoulder replaced, I think, a full replacement. So that's what I mean by you all keep showing up, even coming out of the hospital. Okay, so are we zeroing in? Let's just, this is not binding or anything, but how are folks feeling with this looking at where we're landing on numbers, if you go down from the top, bond, oh, sorry, bond,
Sorry.
that's okay, Leah. Bonding, the 1.5, fully funding those top 5 or 6 projects till you get to the housing trust, having that at 325, reducing All-Wheel Skate Park, and just look down the rest of that. How are folks feeling about these numbers? Any other recommendations? Jonas, sorry, I didn't see you.
Just a clarification, does 1.5 totally cover War Memorial? Or did they ask for more? Did they ask for more than 1.5?
No, that was their proposal.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
We have another appropriation
There's
in addition to this one. So
Yes, there's more
Is it-
money.
yeah, the full cost will
Sorry.
be more than the 1.5.
Sorry, Sean. Yes, they do need more money, but this is their request was for 1.5. Yeah. Any other recommendations for changes?
So does this get us to where we need to be with the numbers as they are in now?
This
It
gets you
leaves
with $7,900
$8,000
remaining
Oh,
We're
to carry
so
over to
close.
next year.
Yeah. And again, that's, the 48, we have to see where that lands. I mean, hearing nothing else, but I want people to take time to think this through, and then we'll go through the process of voting. And again, you may be fully in favor of every single thing on here. You may not be in favor of one or more projects, and you'll get a chance to vote up or down on this. But generally speaking, for the majority of the committee, I don't see other changes. I don't see any hands up. So, all right, folks. Do you need more time? Anyone need more time to review? Speak now or forever. Oh, Sean, do you need?
No, just Leah, I think Leah maybe put in parentheses next to Goodwin Church. I don't know, Katie, if you want to discuss what type of reserve, or if I think the general reserve is probably the better one to go with, because it gives you plenty of time. If you do a historic reserve, you can never get it back. It stays there forever. Not that you wouldn't appropriate it eventually, but it would be there forever. So the general budget reserve would give you till the end of next fiscal year. And so just noting that before you vote so that it's clear.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. When we get to that, we will vote with a particular reserve, and I appreciate your recommendation. I think since it's an urgent need, that would be my recommendation, is to do a general reserve. Any other questions? All right. So what we'll do, this is the tedious part, is what we have to do now is go to each project, and we have to, there's a voting option over to the side here. A voting record, which Leah will take. We're going to go one by one in the order in which we see that, so you can unmute yourself. And what we need, someone to move, someone to second, and then we're going to do a roll call vote. So it's, for example, somebody would move to fund the Town of Amherst Civil War Memorial Tablets project at $75,000. Somebody else would second it. Then I will call on you, and Leo will record the votes. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so feel free to unmute unless you have, dogs barking or something that would really distract us, but we can hopefully make this efficient. Tim, do you have a question?
No, I was going to move that we approved 75,000 for Civil War memorial tablets.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Thank you. That was Jonas, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to vote one by one. We'll start with Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Abstain.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim.
Yes.
We move past Bob. I don't think Mark's here. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, and I'm an I. Okay. Anyone like to make a motion to fund Amity Street redevelopment?
I will move that we fund Amity Street redevelopment for 400 to the total of $450,000.
A second?
Second.
That was Robin?
Yep.
All right. Motion is seconded. Let's go through the votes and we'll start with Jonas again.
Aye. Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Feel free. Do I have a motion for a War Memorial Bathhouse?
I move that are we moving to bond at this point? Is that the motion? I move that we bond funding for the War Memorial Bathhouse at $1.5 million.
That's correct. Anyone second that motion?
Second.
Is that Tim? Thank
That's
you.
Tim.
Thank you for the record. So when I go, okay, Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Motion for the restoration of Simeon Strong.
I motion to fund the restoration project at $275,148.
Do I
Second.
have a second?
Nope.
Oh, Robin, I think I heard you. So we'll take a roll call. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Okay, part-time planning and housing coordinator. Somebody make a motion.
I move that we fund the Town of Amherst part-time planning and housing coordinator at the amount of $90,000.
I second that.
Jason seconds it. Thank you. Roll call it. Start with Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Thank you, Lee. You're doing a great job. Okay, open space improvements.
I move that
move
we
that we-
fund. I move that we fund the
Uh,
open space improvements for $100,000, Town of Amherst.
I second.
Thank you. Let's vote. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Municipal Housing Trust Fund. Motion.
I move that we fund the Town of Amherst Amherst Municipal Housing Trust the amount of $325,000.
I'll second
Second.
that.
Ellen seconds, thank you. And we vote Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an I. And the town hall slate roof restoration.
I move that we fund the town hall slate roof restoration, town of Amherst, in the amount of $1 million.
Second.
Second, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. And a vote. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you. We're doing it, you guys. We're making it happen. All Wheels Skate Park. Do I have a motion?
Move that we fund the Amherst All Wheels Skate Park in the amount of $20,000.
Second.
That's Robin seconds. Thank you. And a vote. We'll start with Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. We're at the Town of Amherst Recreation and Conservation Area signs.
I move that the committee approves $100,000 to fund the recreation conservation area signs.
The sign man says it. And
That's
do we have a,
right.
do we have a second?
I second.
Ellen seconds it, and the vote, Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, this
I'll make the
motion.
Katie.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that.
Sure. I motion that we fund the completion of the industrial history Mill River survey at $75,000 with $40,000 contingent on completion of 36 identified properties. Sorry, completion of 36 mattress forms for buildings identified in the survey.
Thank you.
Second.
Do I have a second? That was Angus. Let's vote. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye on that. And this is the restoration of North and South cemeteries.
I'll motion to approve the restoration of some cemetery, whichever one they choose, for 50,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's start with a vote. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay.
We need a motion for reserve here, Katie. General reserve.
Yes, this
Okay.
would be a motion for a general reserve unless somebody felt otherwise strongly, but yes.
So I move that we place $48,000 into general reserve. I think that's all we say, right? We don't tie it to search. Okay, into general reserve.
Second.
Wait, point of order here. I'm not sure. I might need some help from Sean or Dave. Is it just simply putting it in reserve, or do we have to tie it to the project?
Sorry. I was drawing a mermaid for my 4-year-old.
We want to
It could
see
just
it.
be, no, you don't. It can just be, if you're leaning the general reserve way, it would be just a budget recommended general reserve of 48,000, or the amount that you decide.
So would we use a
Okay.
different line on the tally sheet so that the votes don't come up under Goodwin, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Leah, what I would recommend is to change that line, or add a new line for the amount.
Okay.
Can we
Maybe
say Goodwin Church?
add a new line, Leah, so you keep the kind of history of it. Actually, sorry, there's a line already there. I think that's what you were pointing out, Robin. There's a line on line 20. You can put it there.
Oh, look at that. So the motion will get voted on that line, and the Goodwin Church will essentially want to vote it on it.
Right. You would, reduce it to 0 or,
Great.
So I
Go ahead,
think we
Kate.
still could, I think we still could vote on but you're
Yeah.
saying you'd prefer, okay. I think we're not tying it to a particular project. Instead, we're voting to appropriate $48,000 in general reserve.
Correct. Yep. So the motion is, I motion that we appropriate $48,000 general reserve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a excuse me, I have a comment. I think part of the motion should be that we not fund in this meeting the Goodwin Church, so that's why the 0 appears. And instead allocate $48,000 to general revenue, just so it's
Okay.
or some wording to that effect.
Isn't that just the record of the meeting?
Pardon me?
Isn't that just the record of the meeting?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know if the motion needs that.
Oh, well, then there's no motion to move the 48,000 for the Goodwin Church to 0.
We don't have to make a motion for that.
I don't know.
You're essentially tabling that proposal until it can
Right.
come back.
Right.
So I don't think you necessarily have to vote no or vote it down. You're essentially tabling
Right.
it and
Okay,
doing this reserve
fair enough.
instead.
That's a good use of the phrase. Good.
Yeah. So the motion on the floor is to appropriate $48,000 to general reserve. And I thought I heard Jason second that.
I
We
did.
had some discussion. Thank you. We
And
had some
so the
discussion.
motion is moving it to general reserve.
Yes. And he's almost done. Okay, so that was the motion. It was seconded. There was some discussion in terms of tabling the Goodwin Church proposal for tonight. And so we'll go to vote on that general reserve appropriation of 48,000. Jonas.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Robin.
Right.
Ellen.
Aye.
Angus.
Abstain.
Abstained. Tim.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. I guess we have to vote. Yes, we have to vote on the pickleball project. What we're recommending is 0, so maybe,
We should probably affirm the negative
yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
So do we need to vote?
Seems
Yeah.
like we should, for the record, like to have it be a final. I move to
Okay.
not fund the pickleball courts.
Second.
Angus seconds that. So we're voting in the negative. Okay, just to be clear, we're voting to reject this for this year. I would like to, in discussion phase, just to state that if people are in agreement, that we're encouraging town to come back, because we're not opposed to the project. It was simply the amount of money we had available and difficult decisions. Okay, so I think we've got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? So we will move to vote and start with Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
I,
and I'm an aye as well. And two more. Let's go. Restoration and preservation of the Jones Library. Do we have a motion?
I move that we fund the restoration and preservation of the Jones Library in the amount of $477,000.
Have a second?
second,
Tim seconds it. And we'll vote, starting with Jonas.
Aye.
Jason,
Nay.
Robin,
Abstain.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
I,
and I'm an aye. Okay, and the last one is similar to pickleball. A motion not to fund, but to encourage the applicant to return to CPA. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I will move that this committee this year not fund the request for the passive recreation project at Mill River.
I'll
Second.
Sorry, who seconded Angus?
I did.
Okay, thank you. And we'll vote on that. Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
I,
and I'm an aye. Okay.
I think we voted on the debt in the past, but just as like a lump. I feel like last year's file, it looked like they voted on the debt, and probably to be safe, it's a good idea to do so.
Okay, thank
But I don't
you.
think you have to do each individual project.
Okay, so the motion that would be put forward is to fund the debt service at 524,080. Is that correct? That's the total
Yeah.
amount. Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
So moved.
Oh, there we
Second.
go. Seconded, and Jonas,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye.
Tim,
I,
and I'm an aye. Sean, thank you for noting that. Appreciate it. I always want to double check those numbers. Leah, they look good to you? Yes. Wow. Well, folks, we did it. This was a real team effort. I really appreciate everything that the town staff did. Leah, thank you so much for your incredible support all along the way. Having never done this before, Leah stepped in and did an amazing job. This cycle was there, and every time I asked for something, she was ahead of me usually. But and all of you, I mean, this was a really, really challenging year. For those of us who've been on for a few years, this was hard. And I felt like with all of your thoughtful comments, suggestions, ideas, proposals, I'm not going to say you made it easy because it wasn't easy. It was hard. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Tim.
yeah, I just wanted to thank the committee as well. I've had such a good time I'm leaving town.
When
No,
do
I
you-
appreciate that. This is my last meeting, committee meeting for the town of Amherst, and this committee has been exemplary this year and previous years. So
Wow.
I just wanted, for the record, to say that this has been the deliberations, the thoughtfulness, the preparation. I've been on many town committees. This is by far tops in my mind, so appreciate that.
Oh,
For that to
Tim.
be raised in the record.
Thank you so much, Tim, and thank you for your service over 30 years being in the town and supporting many, many different committees. And as a volunteer, really thank you so much for everything you've done. It's been a pleasure working with you again. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
service, and best wishes to you and
Well,
Kathy
thank
out
you.
there in Colorado.
Hmm.
Yeah, great. Ellen.
Yeah, I just would like to also, this was my first go around on the committee, and it was really rewarding and challenging and all those good things. I'm happy where we landed, and I'd like to propose maybe a very, very casual meet in person celebration sometime after this. I'm happy to host something at my house. Perhaps it's a bon voyage to Tim, but just seems like I spend my life on Zoom, and I'd like to just acknowledge everybody in person. So
That's
we can
so
do that in the
nice.
spring whenever people, yeah, but I'm happy to host something.
Thank you so much. That was very kind, Ellen, and great idea. And Leah and I will put our heads together and get back to you with that, with an idea for a spring meeting, to talk through some of the adjustments to the process that we might want to suggest. So we'll get back. I'll talk to Ellen and we'll talk to Leah and we'll be in touch. But for now, your job is done. You did a great job. We've got through it, and feel really good about it. So do I
Thanks,
have,
Katie.
do I have the last is items topics I didn't not reasonably anticipate. I don't have any, so a motion to adjourn the meeting would be welcome.
I have one last question. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Katie, do you have any idea when you will go before town council?
No, they let me know
Okay.
based on their process. So I'll
You'll
work
let
with
us-
town.
You'll let us
Yeah,
know.
Yes, and absolutely, and you'll absolutely know. First of all, I'm going to work with the town on what the report looks like that we're presenting to the town council with our recommendations. You'll see that. And then we'll let you know when the meeting is. So if you wish to attend, we'd love it. I'd love it. I'd love to not be the only one there.
We'll support you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, so we'll be in touch. So motion to adjourn?
So moved.
8:30. Woo! We
I
did
second
it. Second, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Yay. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kate.
Thanks,
Thank
Sean.
you.
Thanks, Dave.
Sean,
Thanks,
thanks.
Leah.